Good evening, good morning, or good day, depends wherever you are in the world. For me, it's good evening. Today, we have a deep dive session with InFlux Technologies, and we're going to dive into their ecosystem, getting to know what they do, how they started, and all of that. And we have none other than Daniel Keller, their CEO and co-founder. You might know this name because he's everywhere in the spaces. He's trying to explain to the people what the ping is, what the network is, what Web3 is, and he's doing a really great job. I'm a big fan of it. I've been in an AMA with him, and until this day, I remember one thing that he said that I also mentioned it quite a few times on the AMAs, which is Depping has always been in the back. No one knows about it, but when the time is right, we will shine. So that was in relation with the meme coins and the meme phase. So Daniel, please introduce yourself and tell us how did you climb the ladder to become the CEO and co-founder of InFlux Technologies?
Hey, Alex, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on today. I know it's late for you and you took the time out of your day. I really enjoy all of your content. There's not a whole lot of people that I listen to, but Crankk is definitely one that I enjoy their spaces. I enjoy their content, and please keep doing that because we need more voices like you in the space. Um, First of all, a little bit about me. I'm Dan Keller. I'm just another probably cranky old man voice in the world that is crypto. Crypto's a young man's game, but I'm still keeping up with it pretty well, right? So I was CIO for the majority of my career in healthcare institutions. I'm a big advocate for charity-based projects as well. So I work for some nonprofits. I've been on many boards for many nonprofits through the years. And really what it comes down to is I want to give something back to our kids because I think we've done them a disservice leaving the world as it is today. I mean, essentially, their privacy is at risk. And I think that that's really why Flux came into in existence. I spent 25 years of my career centralizing everything, right? So on-prem, my servers, my data lake, my stuff, and then along comes Web 2, and that disrupts the apple cart. Very early adopter into Web 2. I load balanced for years between the two. So I spent the first 25 years centralizing everything, and now I'm going to spend the rest of my career breaking it all back down again. So I've been in the crypto space since 2011, very early adopter to Bitcoin. Huge fan. There's no doubt about it. Anybody that's in the space, if they say they don't like Bitcoin, there's a problem with them. But one of the things that concerned us almost immediately as we were working on building out our project was the fact that there were some scrupulous people in legacy technology. They were controlling platforms. There was deplatforming. There was movement away. Lots of censorship going on. And that terrified me. So we decided to take Bitcoin and to build the next version of the internet with it. It was DPIN before DPIN was cool. We essentially used the Bitcoin consensus mechanism and algorithm at first, and then we started to build our layer 2 on top of that. Which right now you can do anything with Flux, front ends, back ends, game servers. We have FluxAI, we have Flux Edge, which is our GPU part of the project as well. These are all functioning today. So I always tell people InFlux, and it was an 8-year startup essentially, because we knew if we didn't build this infrastructure and work with Flux to make this all mature and happen, that we would be in a bad spot. So InFlux is, think of Lightning Network to Bitcoin. InFlux is to Flux in kind of that same genre. So currently we have about 55 plus employees, probably more than that, but I'm missing a bunch. We are in 78 countries across the globe. We are the world's largest decentralized compute network. We're the very first project to actually create a decentralized version of AI. And we're just kind of keep growing it. So long story short is this is my passion. I'm here for a reason. And sometimes I can be a bit challenging, but I'm doing it in everyone's best interest. So that's a little bit about me and why I'm here.
I love that. I love particularly the last thing that you said and the first that you begin with, that you want to leave something behind, and especially for your kids. Most of the CEOs that I met in way of thinking to save the world, whether it's food, whether it's saving it, the privacy overall on the internet, and they're all thinking about that, and that's, I
Well,
mean,
I
that's the
my
meaning.
approach is a little different. I'm not looking to save the world. I'm looking to prevent the people that would want to control us from doing so. So, I know that the changes that I'm implementing and things that I'm building on, you know, um, it, it, it will better the next generations, without a doubt. And really, honestly, it's all of our jobs in this space as technologists to lay that foundational groundwork. So yeah, I
I
agree
love
with
that.
that.
I love that. Okay, for someone that for the first time ever hears influx technology, could you give us a brief explanation of that, and just how can you explain to someone the platform and what you do? Because you have Flux Edge, you have FluxAI, you have Flux Cloud, you have a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we realized very early on that we had to build an ecosystem, a delivery model. If we wanted to be truly decentralized, we had to do it from the ground up, which means not everything that was created in Web 2 will traverse to Web 3 or in DeepIn. Essentially, you're going to have to build those pieces. I'll give you a perfect, for instance, two-factor authentication. You can't call yourself a decentralized platform if you're using Google's two-factor authentication or SEO to get into those particular applications. So we had to create a decentralized version of two-factor authentication utilizing the blockchain. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but these are all foundational groundwork pieces that need to be put into play. Flux doesn't look to deliver the bright and shiny, pretty stuff. We're looking to develop and deliver technology across the board. So, what made Amazon so successful? People laughed at them when they were selling books in their basement. Who's going to buy books on the internet, right? But they weren't interested necessarily in the books. That was the precursor to what Amazon became, because they were building this delivery model. So whether you took books or home goods, or what, you can buy motorcycles on there now. I mean, you can buy darn near anything. So they built this foundational groundwork that you could start to really snap in anything. And of course, that grew globally. A byproduct of Amazon growing was AWS. So they had to create infrastructure internally to support their business growth models. And at some point, somebody was sitting at the table and said, if we can do this internally for ourselves, how do we sell this to other people? And that's how AWS was born. And right now, AWS is about almost 50% of Amazon's revenue. And they're about 60% of the total global compute in terms of VPSs and deployments. Highly centralized. It's not even an argument, right? So we understood that we needed to do this same replication, build this same delivery model and framework, but the difference was we wouldn't be the controlling entity. That would be up to the open source Flux platform and the community members to build and develop their business models on top of Flux. So the old adage is Google used to say, "Don't be evil." Mostly taking jabs at people in the space that were taking advantage of their customer bases. They have since stripped that completely out of their motto, and Flux's motto is "Don't be evil again." So we built this from the ground up so it can't be controlled. If Dan gets hit by a bus tomorrow, Flux goes on, and that's the way that it should be. There's a lot of projects out there claiming to be decentralized, and when AWS goes down, they go down. I got news for you, buddy. You're not decentralized if AWS goes down and you're getting your ass kicked all over the place. Get to a product like Flux or Kosh or Octo or somebody like that. People ask me, do you have competition in the space? No, I think we have opportunity. I think we have the opportunity to build out this next version of the internet, and it isn't going to be just Dan in the Flux world that does this. This is going to be a symbiotic relationship of all of us working together to lay that foundational groundwork so it can't be disrupted in the future. So I have a little bit different cut. I am a cypherpunk at heart, 110%. So I look at things with a very, very pessimistic eye, And the one thing that and that's been great for us at Flux, because when we sit down and we start to strategize on what we're going to build out, decentralization is always at the heart. So it doesn't matter what component you look at on Flux. So you've got FluxAI, which is our decentralized AI component. You have Flux Edge, which is our decentralized compute network that provides GPU access to retail and enterprise businesses. That runs completely decentralized on our network via proof of use work. So we actually took the consensus mechanism that was Bitcoin, and we addressed Satoshi Nakamoto's greatest quandary, and that is, what do we do with all this additional compute resources? So by utilizing proof of use work, you can mine any cryptocurrency you want. It doesn't have to be just necessarily Flux. If you want to mine Raven, Raven seems to be hot today. Everybody wants to mine Raven, right? So you can do that. And when a proof of use work job comes in and is submitted to the network, you can leave mining that asset, go to do whatever it is, whether it's rendering, or maybe it's AI or edge compute, whatever it is, and then you can come back again. So what that allows us to do is take the better part of 50% of our network and other products that are being mined. We have a Hive OS piece that's going to be coming out later this year to do direct connects. And really it starts to look at how do we remain with our core focus being decentralized, but allow people to be more than just miners, more than just a consensus mechanism. And that's where we really excelled. And Flux Edge is one of those components. Flux OS, front ends, back ends, game servers, you name it. You can run it on AWS. You can run it on Flux. We're Dockerized, but we also have Kubernetes integration as well. So it doesn't matter which flavor, Coke or Pepsi, you're still able to use the platform. And we're seeing, no pun intended, a large influx into this ecosystem from legacy technology systems that are starting to understand the value add that DePIN will bring to the platform. I think Flux has positioned itself pretty damn close to being amazing.
I love that. And what does the onboarding process look like to run Flux nodes and to basically use the cloud?
I'm going to be honest with you, Alex. I mean, I think the big part, there's a big issue that we have in blockchain technology, and that is the fact we suck at user interface. Developing out and making this seamless. We will be successful. DePIN, Web3, and really blockchain holistically will be successful when people are using the technology and have no idea where it's running or how it's running. They just know that there's a ton of value add behind it: bigger, faster, stronger, more affordable, and private. I think those are all really key features that we have to have in these platforms moving forward.
Right. And I mean, honestly and absolutely, I agree with you that everything has to be seamlessly and just easy. Just go on the website, tuck, and then everything is done. And then you're running nodes. You said also, I want to get back a little bit. You said it's a 8-year startup, but how old is actually the project? And when did you join the project?
Wife was heading out. So Zell was originally founded in 2017. I came in right after that. And then, of course, we basically forked that project. We created Flux on top of that. And I'd say the major features is we went away from, there was a privacy component there as well. For privacy assets. We didn't necessarily need that for what we were doing, so we had to, move away from that. And InFlux and Flux was born. I am a supporter of disruptive technology. Flux is my passion project. It's my legacy. I want to leave something, better for our kids, as we talked about earlier. Yeah. Money's never been a motivating factor for me. I'm glad that, I've done well, and through my entire career, I invested appropriately. So it's never been a driving factor for me. So I'm not like other founders that are necessarily looking to take the biggest position in the bag. The only way that I get into Flux is the same way everybody else does. So we get in by mining in, running nodes, or being participatory in the platform. And I'm the same way as everybody else. That's how I built my positions, and people coming in today will get that same advantage that I got. So we wanted to make sure that this was fair launched. Everybody could be participatory at the beginning. And by the way, great time now to look at Flux. Great time. We're at this weird tipping point where everybody's watching BTC and the rest of the market is kind of stagnant. These are where legends are made, right? So definitely a good time to look at it. Not investment advice. Do your own research, so on and so forth. Blah, 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 blah. Put my little disclaimer there. But we really are a gift because we're not going to see this in 2-3 years down the road. I think we're at this really cool point where we're burning out a lot of these frothy FOMO projects, and I tell everybody, I even have a T-shirt that says "fuck your meme coin" on it, because we're really tired of this retail fatigue. I think the projects that will be successful long term are the ones that actually are building a revenue generation base and actually benefiting the people in the community, not only from a speculatory standpoint, but from an ongoing revenue standpoint. And that's different from every other project out there because they're in the speculatory zone right now. They have a white paper and they got a dream, right? And that doesn't work anymore, right? We've kind of crypto itself has kind of screwed itself because it put itself in a position where they were putting money over the technology, and it has been that way for far too long. So I think that shift is slowly happening. I'm watching a lot of these shitcoins being burned out, smiling the entire time, right? So, it is what it is.
No, I definitely, because it's not the first time that you mentioned the meme coins and the way you feel about them, and I feel the same way about them, honestly. Like, I don't have a single meme coin. I don't think I'll ever buy one. I have a few friends that are looking at, I don't even know the website, but it's some website with Solana meme coins, and they're buying blah blah blah, become rich in 2 minutes. But as you mentioned, and you mentioned it also not in this AMA, but every AMA, there should be something behind this project. It shouldn't be just for
Absolutely.
the money and something. There has to be something working. And projects like you and ours and a bunch of others, like, that's how it should be. It's not just for the money. Money is gonna come one way or another, but yeah, meme coins, not a
Yeah.
big fan of them as well.
Alex, the problem is this: the majority of crypto today is Control Z, Control C, Control V, right? Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Not only copy and paste from other projects that are being developed in decentralized world, but Control C, Control V from Web 2. So if it worked in Web 2, maybe I can make it look like it's going to work in Web 3. And I would say 98% of the projects out there today are vaporware. They don't exist. And if they do exist, it's kind of like this low key, runs on Web 2, making it kind of look decentralized, launched a token or an asset. Now the community, there's frothiness and FOMO over that. We're going to come up with a revenue plan someday. We're going to come up with it. You know what I mean? We'll think it out, but it's going to take us a year. And by the way, everybody should buy my token. It doesn't work like that in the real world. Like, what bizarre world do we live in where people put millions and millions of dollars in a project that literally launched 3 weeks ago? We are being manipulated from the higher powers. At some point, the exchanges and at some point, other people figured out, well, if we control 95% of the circulating supply and we pump this thing, we're going to be dumping on everyone's heads. And we've seen it from Coinbase. We've seen it from Kraken. We've seen it from other exchanges, and I'll call them out. I've said it before, and I say it again. Their listing practices are bullshit because they're listing projects that they can easily garner 50, 60, 70% of the circ supply. And they'll manipulate it. Market makers know this too. So this is an uphill battle. So what I'm choosing is not to fight this battle and say, I know eventually this will work itself out, but this technology needs to go forward at however we can do it. So
absolutely. But this cycle is definitely weird. Like, because I used to be big. I used to trade quite a lot, but not the typical trading with the news and stuff, like some real stuff. And I've noticed lately that Bitcoin is gaining, but with such low volume, it's crazy. And people are going crazy because they're saying out season, out season, out season. Yeah, but out season is far, far away for me because Ethereum, first of all, hasn't done anything. The Ethereum funding has started helping so that it won't go down. And yeah, but enough of that. I'm sorry that I went the other direction.
No, I mean, hey, it's factual. It's true. And large money VCs are sitting on the sidelines right now to see what's going to come out of blockchain. I believe if you look back, and I don't know how long you've been in crypto, but like let's say the 2012, 2013 season, right?
I was 12 then.
Yeah. So, bottom line is it is on a larger scale, but it's still secular. So, people often ask me when will be the, alt season or the bull run. I don't think it happens like it has happened in the past. I do believe you will see an alt run. But I don't believe it's going to look like what everybody's thinking, number go up for everyone across the board. I think it's going to be very, very orchestrated and very concentrated on products that are already delivering shit.
Absolutely. I can't agree more with you. You have many features and functionalities of InFlux Technologies, and Flux Edge is standing out, offering in your ecosystem. Could you explain how it differentiates from traditional edge computing solutions?
Well, we got a big problem, Alex, and that's the fact that no matter what we do or how many data centers we build, we're never going to be able to scale AI in a physical on-prem locations. And I don't care what Trump says or what other folks. There's going to be a big difference between the have and have-nots. The folks that can afford to buy those cards from day one will be the ones that will be controlling the networks, and that's a big, big problem. Not to mention the fact, good luck sourcing power from it. And a lot of these places where they're trying to put these data centers, these people don't want them anymore. You couldn't put a data center in Spain today or in Portugal. Their power grid is completely strained to the max. There's just no way it would happen. So what you're going to have is this huge divide. Unless there's another way, and that's exactly what Flux Edge does. Is it takes useful compute. So Dan has 2 graphics cards in his rig sitting down here under the desk. It's now on Flux Edge. And someone can tap into my graphics cards with our Edge platform, and they can deploy, AI rendering, whatever it is. There's game servers, all kinds of stuff you can use. We've already tested it with headless gaming. We've done a bunch of different things there. So basically what that did is that took our network from let's say a few thousand, let's say 10,000 to 25,000 graphics cards. I think it's much more than that. It's in the 40s probably. But now we have access to millions of graphics cards. And the big thing for us is we don't have any of this constraints that come with building a data center. It blows my mind. I recently went to a conference and it was big data essentially. And they're planning these multi-million dollars, billion-dollar investments in these data centers. I'm like, for what? For what? It's a point of control, And by the way, the people that are in retail and or early onset in enterprise, they're get the leftovers of what everybody else had. So we had to build a yin to the yang. We had to make sure that regular everyday people like you and me had access to those training models, to those graphics cards, and that's where Flux Edge has really come in strong for us. And we're seeing the marketplace not only start to draw people that are participating from a Flux standpoint. You can now rent Akash cards right out of there. We're working on some pieces with another large player. We're looking at Web 2 that's already starting to tap into our services and allow, people that are in their Web 2 environment to take advantage of Web 3, the cost savings, the decentralized nature, the availability of actually being able to get the card that you need when you need it. That's a big deal. So I think what you're going to see is this marketplace continue to keep growing. And I think you're going to see Web 2 people start to enter that. And I think you'll see Web 3 people entering that. And it becomes a much more competitive environment across the board when we have the strength to go up against these large players.
That's really interesting. Until this day, I also think that the way to explain to the normal people like you and me and the people from the corner or whatever is to give the product itself in Web 2 fashion. so you don't have to explain it in that technical and tough way of explaining.
Yeah, it
So
needs to be simplistic, and we're not always real good at that shit.
as
You know what I
simple
mean?
as
I mean,
possible.
we tend to make shit as cool as we think it is, but not usable to the everyday person. And by the way, that's why Flux has taken so long to mature. As we agreed very early on, we needed the user interface, because if people came to utilize your platform and it doesn't work or it's fractured, they're not coming back, right? And
Mm,
not only are they not coming back, they're going to tell other people that it's dog shit. So we had to make sure when my wife goes to the ATM, she takes her card out, she puts it in, she puts her PIN code in, she takes her cash, she takes her card, she takes her receipt, and she leaves. She gives two shits about what happened behind the scenes to make that happen. And I think we
exactly.
become successful when we make it feel exactly like Web 2 with all the features that come with that decentralized infrastructure.
We have a sort of a series. It's not a campaign really, it's a series. The Crankk brothers. It's basically me and another guy from the Crankk team. That's one of the designers, and we are trying to explain this whole world, Web3, Depin, and whatever, in simple words. By one of them being just getting into the network, and the other one is like the professor and explaining stuff in simple way. And the goal for that is for all those people that are trying to get in or don't understand it, and motivate them to get in. So yeah, uh, let's talk about a little bit about FluxOS. My tongue flipped a little bit here, sorry about that.
It's okay.
uh, can you give us a quick overview of what it is and how can the
Yeah.
people?
So essentially, Flux OS, or as the new name for it is Arcane, is an operating system, a true operating system. It's encrypted end to end. So essentially, anybody that runs the infrastructure on their nodes they have no access to that data. It's a complete lockout. They'll know they're running the operating system because they set it up that way, and we've made it very simplistic for anybody to be able to set up the infrastructure and run their own nodes. But our goal is to make sure that we're meeting compliance across the board in terms of what Web 2 is going to look for. They're going to look for projects that are HIPAA compliant, PHI compliant, SOC 2, so on and so forth. So for us to do that, we needed a true lockdown, we needed true privacy, and we needed true decentralization. So Arcane, which is called, it's Flux OS essentially. It provides those pieces to us to be able to have that. So large companies won't come onto your platform, or even small companies for that matter, if they don't have a sense of security and their data that it's being maintained and stored appropriately. So FluxOS kind of was built from the ground up. Everybody on this team are technologists at heart. So we've got, Tadesh, who was a particle physicist. We've got Jeremy, who's a technology guy. Was a CIO. Volter was just a CIO. All these people came together and say, what's the worst thing about current cloud technologies, and how do we address that? And that's how FluxOS was really born. We understood it needs to be easy to use, so that's where we went with the Dockerization component, and later added on Kubernetes integrations, custom Kubernetes integrations. We knew anybody like Alex could go out and deploy a game server today on Flux with minimal knowledge and run that baby simplistically.
That's great.
And that really, what Flux was the first piece that we built when we were building this out. So Edge came later on, AI came later on, all these other components came. FluxOS laid the groundwork for it, because we knew if we could do it on the OS level, we knew we could do it across the entire tech spectrum. So, I'm still impressed the day that I sat down with Tadesh, who is the architect of FluxOS, and we talked about how it was going to work and what it was going to do. And it blew my freaking mind, and it still blows my mind today. We're often imitated. We're never duplicated. We see a lot of Web 2 folks come in and they try to, create that. AWS created their own like decentralized model. Nobody did it. It was an afterthought, because who wants to work for the evil empire? But I mean, seriously, people that are at that level where they're understanding the technology, understands the risk, the inherent risk of allowing centralized control to go unfettered and unchecked for the next 10, 15 years. So most of these people were like, yeah, I'm good with that. You keep your shit over there. We'll be over here. And I think that we continue to keep building that out. So yeah, FluxOS really laid that groundwork, that proof of concept, so to speak, because we knew if we made it simple and easy to use, 100% decentralized and private, that it's the old adage, you will build it, they will come. But now we want to take that a step further. So we want to go, we're going to the masses. We're going to the large players in this space, and we're all going after retail as well. Because I think it's a human right to have your own data and your own privacy. I also think it should be, we should have a situation where people can get compute resources when they need compute resources. And we don't have that today. So the have and have nots are massive. So we're hoping that Flux and FluxOS and the suite of software that we've developed will help level that playing field.
I can also imagine that it's cheaper than the Evil Empire's cloud infrastructure, cloud models, basically.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So essentially, from a costivity standpoint, we're pennies on the dollar. And honestly, when I talk to people, they don't understand necessarily how we can do what AWS does for so cheap. So I'll give you an example. If I was going to launch a mid-tier game server on AWS, so, was able to run, and maybe we did some geolocating on it as well, you're looking at like $150, $160 a month. If you do that on Google, you're going to be looking well over $200 a month. And these are one servers. So you're getting one server. Every one of these, you get one server, right? You get into Microsoft, get ready. You're going into the threes, right? So you're for one server, depending on, a good solid game server, into the threes. Flux will do that with 3 servers for around $17 to $21 a month.
Oh, wow.
And that's huge. So what this does is it gives people from the entry level disaster recovery planning. So you're basically in 3 different locations, syncing at all times. Small businesses who have never had a DRP plan, now all of a sudden they have DRP in place. They have their data protection in place. They have continuity planning in place. So what we did is we took the heaviest points and the biggest barrier entry for small to mid-tier businesses and even retail, and we made it so that you can deploy infrastructure at an affordable rate, but you're not giving up your level of service. There's no other platform out there that gives you DRP, continuity, data backups out of the gate. That's what we do. We don't charge extra for it. It is what it is. You know what else we don't charge for? Egress fees. And if you've ever been utilized cloud technology in the past, there's nothing like getting a bill for 100% more than what you thought you were going to spend because you got hammered with egress fees. No egress fees. We give you all the tools at the beginning for development, and we've made it as easy as possible for people to deploy on that. And what we're seeing is while this Bitcoin chop is going sideways and everybody's got their eyes everywhere else, we're seeing Web 2 legacy technologies creep into Web 3 and start to utilize that data set, that infrastructure set.
Thank you for that. I'm still shocked. As you can see, my eyebrows were still up all this time. And I haven't got into InFlux because I wanted to have an AMA with you. And I'll give you an example. When I had the AMA with Tim, the CEO of Presearch, and I knew about Presearch, they're into our multi-mining solution, but I just didn't want to because I wanted him to motivate me to get into their stuff. And he did. And now you're doing it as well. And that's when they were releasing their pre-GPT 2.0. And now I'm using it and I'm using their stuff. And from what I'm hearing from you, I'm shocked. I can't say much. And you have also FluxAI, one of your latest achievements. Can you say a little bit more about that? Because it's interesting, Depin and AI. You knew it was coming, but you're already working, doing it. So,
Again, perfect opportunity for us. We've created this delivery model framework that we can drop things into, and along comes like AI. I mean, I'm not one of the guys that says AI is going to destroy the world. I think right now it's a glorified chatbot at best. However, the potential of it is exponential. But again, it always comes back to control. The legacy systems and the government want to control those input models, because those who control the input models control the output models. You know, it's the old adage, the victor tells the story, right? History always is told by the victor, never by the losers. And if they control that input model, they're controlling what we're receiving and understanding on the output model. So when we sat down with our head of AI, Daz, I said, as a matter of fact, this happened in Las Vegas. We were out there for a conference, and had a few beers, and we were kind of hanging out, just bullshitting. And I said, dude, what if we just built AI on Flux, like made it completely decentralized, and then like we don't garner training data. There's no terms of service because we don't collect anything. Basically make this a private version of AI, and anybody can use it, including in their on-prem world as well. Could we do that? And that started the conversation that became FluxAI, and we did that. We're working with healthcare organizations now. They don't want patient data being gleaned by the evil empire, right? They don't want the Borg sitting up there collecting your health data, and that's terrifying to them. And rightfully so, because we know it's not going to be utilized correctly. We know it's going to be monetized. And, your health data, they already know where you live, where you work, where you shop, what you buy, your healthcare data now on top of it. I mean, holy shit, they know you inside and out better than you probably even know yourself, right? Because they're seeing trending patterns. They'll know. I mean, there's an old adage that Facebook knows when you poop. Facebook literally knows when you poop, right? Because it collects that data of when you're long scrolling. It associates with you the same time pretty much every day if you're lucky enough to be regular. But if they know when you're pooping, you don't think they're going to use your health data for everything else? It's terrifying. So FluxAI kind of fits in, the yin to the yang. We're the yin to the yang in GPT at this particular point in time. ChatGPT and Microsoft's products, and all these other products, Bard, you've got Grok, you've got all these. They're in the business of extrapolating your data. We're in the business of making sure you keep your data and it doesn't get utilized for training models. Not only that. People are using ChatGPT and other platforms for contracting, for business analysis, for financial analysis. So you're giving all of your shit to a training model that's going to utilize that. They know what you're doing before you're doing it because they've already got these components coming into play. So we understood for AI to truly be successful for the people that we would have to have public training models. So the algorithm needs to be transparent, and we need to have public input and output models as well. So, why has the internet been so successful? Because if you say something there and it isn't true, you will be called out. And trust me, go visit X one time and just mention something. You're going to get called out 100 million times. But if people control those input output models in AI, they are the definers of what is history, of what it is that you will see. And if you think for 1 minute that their end goal is to control those input output models, look what's happening in the UK and all over the EU right now. People are going to jail over posting a fucking meme. How is this? The only way you look at this is it's negative. I mean, Trump's big, beautiful bill, which, by the way, I do like a lot of what President Trump has done. That isn't one of them. There is a little segment in there that all AI governance, all AI control will be ceded by every state for 10 years. That means for 10 years, there will be no regulation. There'll be no adoption. There'll be no embracing unless the federal government says it's okay. And that's a problem. So, I've been screaming from the treetops, the big, beautiful bill is not big and beautiful. It's taking away our states' rights. It's taking away the rights of the end users as well, and it's a bad deal. So, and if this is going to continue to keep exacerbating. It's going to get worse and worse and worse because what Trump is doing now can easily be flipped in another 3 years, 3.5 years, and we're on to a different regime. So we have to build these technologies to where we don't give a shit about who's in office. All we care about is the people are maintaining it. They're utilizing it. It's a truth model to whatever it is that's being created on the other side, the yin to the yang.
Flux is yin and yang. So what would you say are the practical benefits of integrating AI and machine learning into Flux?
Well, I think the big thing, is especially with machine learning and so on and so forth, you are again at the mercy of whoever's the controlling entity. Look at when Google launched Bard. I mean, they basically turned the entire history of the United States into African American. Like they had George Washington; he was black, right? So how do you change the future? Make people forget their past, right? Manipulate what they're learning as they grow. So I think us as a species have an amnesia issue, right? We forget that this has already been played out a million times before, and we're just moving into another version of us being played, and that just can't happen. So I think the benefits of integrating into something like FluxAI or our Edge platform or OS is you're a little bit smarter. You're a little bit more in tune with the fact that no regulation and no government should be able to control this technology. And I know you're going to get the fear mongers out there. Well, if there isn't no regulation, what keeps it from, launching on the internet and taking over the rest of the world? We're Terminator version, right? The Matrix. Look, technology tends to govern itself if it's done correctly. Very rarely does government input or regulation help the actual maturity of the program. And as by the way, I think it's the exact opposite because they think it's going to help. I think it's evil. It's a control piece. I mean, in the end, you have to understand that the technology is changing. We're at a paradigm shift right now. And the only way for us to really be anything is proactive. The days of being reactive to emerging technology are over. The U.S. government sending a takedown order to Google and saying, I don't like this website, take it down. That doesn't work anymore.
Nope.
That doesn't work anymore because the shift is on. And, they're going to have to get more to personal accountability. You even hear a lot of founders in this space talk about, we need clear regulations. We need clear regulatory regimes. And I've echoed this in the past to a certain extent. But where I start drawing back from that is when they start trying to control what it is that the industry is doing. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So, I think we build our technology so we don't have to worry about regime changes or regulation or, deplatformings. We just build it and good luck taking it down. As long as there's 2 graphics cards or 1 graphics card's running Flux, it's going to keep on ticking. So good luck with that. You can put Dan in jail. You can take the whole team away. You can do whatever. It isn't going to matter. It's there. So they have to become proactive with that engagement. And that's not something these governments have easily done in the past. Let's face it.
Absolutely. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really feel like a host. I feel like a guest because what you're speaking of, Daniel, is truly it's a knowledge and it's actually what is happening. And it's not that we don't know it, but the way you express it and the way you say it makes so much more sense. And with the examples that you give, so thank you again for that.
Appreciate that, man.
And obviously, the Flux token plays a big role in your system, in your ecosystem. Could you explain its utility and how it supports the Flux overall operations?
Let's go back in the Wayback Time Machine to 2019. Okay. In 2019, very little regulatory guidance anywhere in the blockchain space, right? Majority of what was being regulated was looked at with a document called the Howey Memo, which basically walks you through an archaic, old, ancient process to determine whether or not you're a security. If you are a security, you've passed the Howey test, then you're government regulated. If you're not, then you're considered what's if you fail the Howey test, which we've failed 4 times now, you're a utility. But to be a utility and make sure that we continued that process, we built Flux into everything we do. If you're deploying nodes, you need Flux. If you're utilizing FluxAI or FluxOS, you're going to need Flux. Even our fiat payment mechanisms settle to Flux. So it is truly the most utility-based asset out there. And I'll even go as far as to say it's more utility-based than Bitcoin, because we're traversing outside the financial space and into standard tech stacks across the board. So, yeah, that's kind of the way I think about it.
I don't know what to say. I agree with you. Back in 2019.
Yeah.
Obviously,
well, the Howey test is on its way out. We're going to finally get some, they continue to keep saying they're going to have some regulatory guidance that if they don't codify, if they don't get it into actually being laws, can just be changed by the next regime. So it's opinion rather than law. And that's what concerns me. So I've spent a lot of time, on the Hill down in DC, really being an evangelist for DePIN, really blockchain holistically. You have other folks like Greg Azori from Akash. You got, different people that are really taking it to them very early on, so they understand. Man, there's nothing like sitting in a room full of House representatives or senators and telling them, hey, the way that you used to do it, that doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? And they see the value of that's the amazing thing. You see that light go on when they start to see the value add that it brings to the world. But the problem is this: they are the gatekeepers, and they need to understand how to control it. And when you tell them it can't be controlled, they resist that. So I believe we're probably going to go through some regulatory turbulence over the next 3 years. And if we come out the other side of it, we've done everything to align ourselves to make sure we're never considered a security. If we were going to be governed, we'd be governed by the CFTC rather than the SEC, much like what Bitcoin has done, and in Litecoin, and there's a few other ones that they consider almost like commodities, personal property. So
they are
our goal is. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that they are basically treated as commodities already.
Yes, and Flux is right there. So if you would say that Bitcoin was a security, Flux would be a security, because we are a fork of Bitcoin. We've built our tokenomics so that it favors proof of work and proof of use of work mining, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of projects out there that, again, Control-C, Control-V, I have a token. Yeah, so I would say a lot of the token issuances, at least from my standpoint, and I've stood on this hill for a while, they're almost all securities. They're not, unless they're truly using a utility-based token to drive the ecosystem. But let's face it, Alex, 98% of those projects are all bullshit shit, right? So, I mean, the whole purpose of the Howey memo and the security test was to ensure that retail understood that they were buying a speculatory asset. And that is tokens by definition, right? You have to get into your utility coins or utility assets, and then you start getting into things like RWAs and so on and so forth. So, I think they're going to have to really think about this thing holistically as they're going through it, especially for the state. I know the EU's in the same process. They instituted MiCA, which is an absolute train wreck. And it's our job to call them out when there's things happening that doesn't align with our ethos.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, it is like that. 90-ish% are all bullshit, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Obviously, you have. Yep.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna continue with something else, so you can continue with that.
No, I mean, obviously, we're seeing that today. I mean, we're seeing people start to get a little retail fatigue is real. People are disenchanted with the fact that I bought $100 worth of meme coin and it went up to 1,000. Now it's a penny. It's like people get shit mixed constantly, and retail just is like, we're not even really super interested in this anymore because it's just a free for all. And by the way, I am for the free for all. I don't give a shit about any of that. I wish it was all unregulated. I think if you're investing money, you better do damn research instead of relying on the government to keep you protected, with my air quotes, right? You better be doing that research yourself to understand what you're investing in. So
and do a proper research. I just wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because some people think they're doing a research, like they see on X a project has that many followers and they think it's okay. No. There's a ton of other shit that you have to be in at, and to spend a couple of, not even months, but years to really know that a project is really worth it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, when I do my research on any project, the one question I ask, and it basically eliminates 98% of the assets out there, is how do you make money? How do you make money? How do you make money? How do you generate revenue? Because your network means nothing if you can't incentivize your participants with something more than promises and speculatory, dreams and wishes. So
And it can be faked.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, and we're all falling for this shit. I mean, the people that know, and they're not falling for it, right? Because they're staying tried and true, and that's why the majority of the people who have been from Flux day one are still here, and they're still grinding because they understand this isn't a sprint. This is a full out race, and we're going to keep pushing the envelope.
It's a whole marathon, as you say.
Yes.
So obviously you've been in this path for so many years, and with Flux, and not only you've seen so many stuff. What are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced? Also within InFlux.
You got to be comfortable with the unknown, and most people struggle with that. I have a lot of developers that come to me and like, how do I get into Web3? And I tell them, I said, if you have the stomach for it, it's like that video of Tommy Lee Jones. He goes, is it worth it? And he says, oh yeah. And then he walks away a little further. He says, if you got the stomach for it. And that's what it comes down to, because my day, it is so variable and changes so much that if you're someone like me who has ADD, you're in it because it's perfect for your mentality. But you have to be, you have to be strong with your commitment as well, and understand that this is a long-term structure, a long-term process. And there's not a lot of people that have that commitment level. They see dollar signs, or they see FOMO or frothiness. I mean, look at the FTX debacle. That's where legacy finance came in and shit mixed crypto. You had people that, came in from legacy. They knew what was Terra Luna. Do you think that Terra Luna, when you hear about these algorithmic stable coins and shit, do you think that was like just some dude that did that? Hell no. Those are legacy finance folks coming in, and they're very early, and they're disrupting the disruptors. So I would say the biggest challenges are obviously regulatory challenges and changing regimes. And when I say regimes, moving from a Biden who was Operation 2 Choke Point 2.0, where he was strangling blockchain technology, to somebody like Trump that's created his own meme coin and pumped his own shit coin, right? So, I mean, you got to build your technology between these two massive spectrums so that neither one will influence whatever it is that your product becomes. So, and also patience. We lack it everywhere in crypto, everywhere in DePIN, everywhere in blockchain, everywhere in iterative technology. Slow the fuck down. Think about what you're doing. Put revenue generation first before you do anything. Before you pull up Figma and start mapping out your platform, you better have already figured out how this bad boy is going to make money. And we're starting to see a shift from the old ways where a white paper and a dream will get you something. The shift is clearly toward useful products. So, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart being in this space. I'll tell you that right now. I might be 50, but I feel 150. And, bottom line is it's a young person's game. And to stay in it as competitive as I have been means you have to immerse yourself in the entire damn thing. It has to be what you wake up with and have to be what you go to bed with in your mind. And if you don't have that, it's probably not the place you want to go. But if you have that, hit us up, man. We're always looking for good people at Flux, right? If you want to grind, cut your teeth, and have an exciting week. We just recently had a legal intern join us. Oh my God, he loves it, right? Because it's a free for all. You know what I mean? It's an ADD guy's dream, right? So you got to have the testicular fortitude to stand up and know that what you're building isn't going to be a 1 year, 2 year product. It's going to be a 10-year, 15-year success piece. And by the way, Amazon lost for the first 7 years in existence. Bezos gave up almost 50% of the company for $1 million. So it was a long ride for him to get to where they're at today. And it will be a long ride for us. There's no shortcut to success. You know, there's no shortcut to success. And you have to remember that whether you're investing in a product or a project, or whether you're building a project or a product, you have to stay the course and you have to actually do the work.
Unfortunately, that's true. And it's something that I notice all over the place across social media channels. Like, everyone is trying to say that it's super easy to become successful, but it's not. Especially if you're building something like that, it's truly not that easy. Money just doesn't come in that easy, especially if it's that complicated product.
I turn more people away from Flux than I do turning them to Flux. And I know that is probably crazy. People are going to hear it and be like, what are you talking about? But I tell people, Flux isn't for everyone. It's not. It isn't this pie in the sky, number go up, pump, pump, pump. You know, founders are buying and manipulating the prices and shit. I'm there just like everybody else, man. Like, you know, if you're looking for instant gratification, or if you're looking for success overnight, Flux isn't where you want to be. You know, you've got to have a level of dedication and understanding of what your investment is going to do and how it's going to work. And how many people could say that they own part of a company that their input is driving the innovation of the company? That's exactly what you're going to get with Flux. Our community is our company, and they are the ones that are driving the innovation across the board. And I think that business model, by the way, will be adopted by almost all technology projects going forward. It's almost community driven. There's a company. You have to have a company involved. So that's where InFlux came into play. But there could be 50 InFluxes running and building on top of Flux. And we're already seeing that start to happen. So, yeah, in the end, we win. It'll be on a delayed timeline, I believe, because we have to understand the things that we don't know and we have to address those things. So, and I really do appreciate you having me on today, man. And I'm real grateful for that.
Me too. I believe also the people that are listening are grateful for this, because you drop some real knowledge here. And I thank you for that.
Absolutely. If anybody's listening, they want to learn more about Flux, check us out on X, Run on Flux. You can visit us online at runonflux.com. If you want to check out our AI product, it's ai.runonflux.com. Join our Discord and just come in and ask questions, man. That's what we're here for. There's not many companies that you can drop into their Discord and ask the CEO exactly or the co-founder exactly what's going on with the project. And we're there. So, and it may not always be like that, guys. So enjoy it while you have the opportunity.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man.
Yes. Have a good evening, everyone, or a good day. Depends wherever you are in the world, as mentioned. I'll see you next month with another great project that we truly believe in and that is doing actually something great. So I'll see you next month. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Alex.